Today, I'm going to talk about 5 signs that a person isn't ready or capable of a healthy relationship. Now, before going into this, I want to stress that all of us have unhealthy traits and do things in relationships that sometimes hurt other people. None of us are perfect, and there is no such thing as a human without flaws because we're all learning. But there are certain patterns of behaviors that are huge red flags, especially when we're forming friendships or romantic relationships. And these are red flags that we should and can be aware of. So if you've ever met someone and you thought that they were really fun, lighthearted, and just so good to be around, and then a few months later, you couldn't believe how different they were. There were probably little signs along the way that you learned to ignore. Now, that's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing that we see the best in other people. Though ultimately, we at the same time have to learn how to protect ourselves, how to be aware of these signs in order to choose people that bring us peace and contentment instead of chaos and suffering. Now, again, we are talking here about repeated behavior or something that you see again and again where the person isn't owning it or trying to change it all. So here are some signs that a person isn't ready or capable of having a healthy relationship. The first sign is that they ghost you or they self-isolate anytime there is even a small sign of conflict. Now, this is really common with people who have avoidant attachment style. But avoidant attachment, of course, is on a spectrum. So if the person is on the extreme side, where any sign of disagreement means you don't hear from them for days, or maybe they even storm out of your house or shut down every single time you want to talk about anything, this might be a sign that they need to work through their avoidant patterns. Now, I know that people with avoidant attachment get a lot of negative criticism. But the truth is, no matter what attachment style we develop, all of us can work on it and can work to become more secure. And the difference is willingness. If you meet someone and you see this pattern where they don't want to work on it, and they see fleeing and self-isolating as a solution to all of their relationship problems, then they're probably not going to be someone who can provide you the safety that you need. And you're probably going to end up feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, and like you're giving way more than you're receiving. Because healthy love and partnership requires repair, reconnection, not retreat. The second sign that someone might not be capable of a healthy relationship is that they never apologize. Or when they do apologize, you're blamed. Now, I'm sure you've heard someone say something like, "Well, I'm sorry you feel that way." Or maybe something like, "I'm sorry I did that, but you were doing." Now, if you have, you've probably ended up feeling really resentful, really exhausted, really frustrated, because this isn't actually an apology. It's someone acting as if they're apologizing while also assigning the blame to you. Because a real apology involves 100% ownership and doesn't bring in the other person or how they were behaving. A real apology sounds like, "I'm sorry I talked to you that way. There is no excuse and you didn't deserve it. I'm really going to work on talking to you nicer, even when I'm upset or dysregulated." Now, when people authentically apologize in that way, we learn to trust them because they're owning the way that they're behaving. They're not making it about us, and they're promising to do better in the future. Now, if we're in a relationship with someone who doesn't apologize, we can't actually ever repair the relationship after conflict, which means we end up having the same fights over and over again with nothing ever getting resolved. Because with no repair, there is no growth. A third sign of someone who might be incapable of having a healthy relationship is that they never show interest in you, in your internal world, or in your personal interest. Now, you can probably remember a time when you were around someone who just kept talking about themselves, their issues, and anytime you tried to share about yourself, they shifted the conversation right back to them. Or maybe every time you were around this person, you just ended up feeling drained. And usually that's because it's not a reciprocal relationship. Reciprocal relationships mean that both people give and take. You both share focus on each other's lives. There's curiosity on both sides. You both show interest and care in what the other person cares about and thinks about. And that is all ultimately a sign of respect. And when someone doesn't give that to us, the relationship ends up feeling really shallow, really disconnected. And when we don't have these building blocks of respect and reciprocation, it blocks our ability to develop emotional intimacy, the intimacy that actually creates a bond. You end up feeling present but unseen, and that is so very lonely. A fourth sign that you might be in a relationship with someone who is incapable of a healthy relationship is that this person has a lot of different issues with a lot of different people. Now, we're not usually conscious of this, but the stories and the experiences that people share with us tell us a lot about how they handle their own relationships. So if you meet someone who has story after story about all of the issues they have with all the other people in their lives, even strangers, this can be a sign that they are struggling with emotional regulation or with communication issues. Now, at times, all of us are going to have issues in our relationships. But if you notice a pattern where the person always feels wronged, always is complaining about everyone else, never self-reflects on the role that they play, this person is also going to struggle doing those things in relationship with you. If they're the common denominator in all of their relationship issues, pay attention. Now, the fifth and final sign that someone might be incapable of a healthy relationship is they intensely suppress their emotions. Now, someone who emotionally suppresses tends to be a huge people pleaser. They're usually really timid, and they seemingly just always go along with the flow. They never really tell you what they're thinking or feeling. And then one day you might notice that they seem down or they seem moody. You might even ask them, is everything okay? And they end up saying, I'm fine. But you sense something is off. You even feel the shift, but it's as if you have to pull it out of them. Or maybe one day they just explode seemingly out of nowhere, and you're left wondering what happened. This is because so many people don't really understand how they're feeling. So they end up by pushing down their feelings, by pretending those emotions don't exist, and by pushing everything down so far until one day it just leaks out or begins to erupt. Now, none of this is about judging ourselves or labeling the people around us as bad. It's about noticing if someone has the capacity and the willingness to grow in a relationship with us. Now, again, we all have patterns. Some of us are actively working on them, and you deserve relationships with those people that make you feel safe, relationships that are mutual or reciprocal, and relationships that are ultimately nourishing for everyone involved. I'd love to hear from you listening. Which one of these signs have you noticed in most of your past relationships? And what did you end up learning about your own needs as a result of it? Leave it in the comments below.